I'm Carissa, I explained it all, and in this video we are going to talk about what it feels like to live in a world where you are a deep, philosophical, esoteric, maybe spiritual person who enjoys the subtext of life, but doesn't always get to experience people receiving you the same way. So if you're watching this video, you might be someone that enjoys finding the deeper meaning within events and within feelings. You like self-reflection, you like to weigh values and morals and figure out what's really right or what's really the truth of the matter. You like to understand things from different sides. You like complexity, you like untangling complexity. You like to understand how things aren't always just black and white, but usually some kind of mixture of gray. And if you are those things, you probably don't mind a little bit of ambiguity and uncertainty in exploring life. A lot of people tend to want something concrete that they can grasp onto, whether it's their identity or their place of work. The topics that they speak about are ones that are more concrete, are certain, are stable. They're not ever changing. So for those people, it's a little harder to understand someone who would be okay with letting things be as they are and remain open and kind of uncovering and discovering and playing with, experimenting with life and just letting it be kind of open-ended. Now, what we struggle with if we are like this is a certain level of disconnection with our outward expression, so with ourselves in the way that we outwardly express ourselves in the world, or don't because we're masking. We probably struggle with the pain and the sting of rejection, of people seeming to not care what we think, or dismissing it, or ignoring it, or feeling not important to people we care about because they can't meet us where we are. And this kind of ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If we experienced a lot of this when we were younger, then we develop coping mechanisms to deal with that sting of rejection. We do two things, both externally and internally. So internally, we hide away, we close off, we can't not be ourselves, right? But we can choose who we are ourselves with. And so usually the safest person to be ourselves with is ourselves. So we learn practices and behaviors of self-isolating. We really appreciate our alone time because we get to be our most authentic selves. The problem with this is that we begin to build these really, really rich inner landscapes of ideas and concepts and understandings of the world and perspectives that are really beautiful. They're like gems that ought to be shared with the world, but we get so practiced at not sharing them with the world because we experience negative things, negative consequences, that we keep them inside. And so we never get the opportunity to practice expressing these things, articulating these beautiful, complex ideas and thoughts. So when we actually do get the opportunity to open up to someone because they're willing to listen, these beautiful, complex ideas come out like this, and you can't express it as beautifully as you want to, as you know the idea is that it exists within you, that energy within you, you know it's beautiful and amazing and like totally awesome, but you don't know how to express it. And the other problem with this internal, when we turn inwards and keep it to ourselves, is that we don't get exposure to challenge our thinking, our perceptions and everything that's beautiful, but it is just from our point of view. And we do need other people to challenge us so that we don't start listening to our own biases. Our own biases start adding up to stories that may be true for us, but they're not true for everyone. And then we start turning those stories into judgments against other people, which causes further separation. So that's not always the healthiest thing, though we do it, right? It's coping. It's the way that we cope with the world. The other thing is that when we do have to interact externally and socialize with people and feel like they don't understand us, is we start to learn to mask. We put on the mask. When people ask us, how's the weather? Oh, great. Yeah, no, I heard it's supposed to rain in a couple days. Like nothing kills our souls more, right, than having to talk about something so mundane as the weather. But we learn to put up with this because it's how we get acceptance. It's how we are able to get through the line at the grocery store by making small talk with the cashier without feeling awkward because we just don't want to speak because we just don't find it interesting. Like, we're going to do the thing. But the thing is, we do the thing in every arena that we externalize and socialize in. So when we're at the grocery store, when we're at our job, when we're with family or friends, like that don't quite get us at that level. We are masking in all these situations. And when you mask yourself, it's draining. It's tiring. You're like, because you're holding yourself at a distance. You're like, I cannot express all of me. I need to filter what I say. I need to filter who hears me because they won't quite get me and blah, blah, blah. Like it's draining. It is hard. Not only that, then it takes effort to communicate in that way that they can hear you. A little side note, a little asterisk I want to say is, if you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs system, the MBTI personality test, it goes over the different types of people, and that different types of people speak or think abstractly and speak or think concretely. And I find that when I'm really tired, when I'm exhausted, I think and speak abstractly, and my husband thinks and speaks concretely. And so when I'm really tired after a long day of work and I want to, we're talking, we're catching up, and he tries to explain something to me from work, I can't mentally process it. Like, it takes energy to process what he's saying because I'm trying to visualize and put my thoughts into concrete terms to understand him. And normally I wouldn't think about this, right? Normally that wouldn't even come up. It wouldn't bother me that he's speaking like that because I can translate as he's going because I have energy. At these times where I don't have energy, it becomes kind of noticeable that it's like taking extra brain power to translate. And so I feel like that if that's the case for me, it must be the same case for people who speak and think concretely. It just takes more brain power to follow along what someone who speaks a little more abstractly or a little more, trying to find the hidden meanings and has these beautiful, rich inner structures and landscapes within themselves. They're trying to interpret that. And if we're not very good at articulating that to the point of where they're understanding, that can be very difficult. It takes more effort and mental energy from them. So sometimes we get triggered by people not understanding us, and sometimes that's kind of the process that's going on. It's getting lost in translation, or it's just difficult because we're almost kind of speaking two different languages. It's like if you want to watch Netflix at the end of the day after you've worked really hard and you don't really want to watch something new because that would take brain power and emotional capacity that you don't have, and you just want to watch something familiar. It's kind of like that, right? Where it takes a little more effort. And normally, like, if you're not tired, you're totally up for watching something new, right? So I think sometimes that happens. And so I want to make sure that comes across, that it's not necessarily that people are not able to understand you, but that sometimes there's just like translation energy that has to be met up, right? To make that cohesive interaction. The other thing to keep in mind is that people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. So if most people don't think about, and I don't want to say like most people, but like if the people that you're interacting with that feel like they don't get you, don't think abstractly or like deeply or about the types of things that you think about when you communicate with them, and there's no language to bridge. There's no shared vocabulary, or there's no shared concepts. What you're asking them to do is kind of jump in the deep end of the pool without a lifeboat, without a life raft, and without knowing how to swim in the deep end. Now you know how to swim because you swim every day, all day. This is your territory, right? And so when you're asking someone to dive in there with you, it can be kind of hard for them. So those are two things I want you to keep in mind, because sometimes it's not always personal. Sometimes it's literally just different makeup of different people. And the last thing that I want to bring up as a side note before we're about to get into like how to deal with the hurt, is that if you're familiar with the human design system, there is a type called the projector. The projector tends to be this type of person. Now, everyone watching this video might not be a projector, but look into that. If you are a projector, you have a very penetrating aura. You tend to get very deep with whoever is in front of you, and you go deep together and you connect. If that person is not ready for your penetrating aura, they are not going to receive whatever you have to say, regardless of how wise your advice is or how good your perspective is. They need to be in a space where they are open and receiving to the energy that you're sending their way. That's part of that projector having to wait for the invitation. That doesn't mean that you have to wait to speak. You can speak at any time. And when people start to recognize what you are known for, what is so good about your advice and your energy and your perspective, then they will invite you in and ask you questions or invite you in to speak more. And so then that's the time to speak. So it could be the way that your energy works in the world. And getting more familiar with the way that energy works within you and within other people helps us to not take it so personally either. However, there is the part of us that when we were young, we did take it personally because we didn't know any other way to build our self-confidence or cope with having people not understand us. Here we go. We're going to address the deep feelings of being misunderstood and not heard and not seen. So first thing that we want to do is learn to be with the triggered part of ourselves. So recognizing our triggers, the triggers that come up when you feel like you are trying to say something and someone is not receiving it. Notice what happens in your body first. This is going to be a really excellent way to notice the triggers. You'll probably notice the thoughts like, oh, it's happening again. Like, oh, they're not connecting with me. They don't understand me. Like, why did I even try, right? Those are all like the chaotic little fluffy cloud thoughts that are going on. But notice what's happening in your body. Are you, were you like engaging in conversation? Notice that they're kind of like eyes glossing over, not really receiving you, whatever it is, right? And you start to pull away, cross our arms, put a barrier up in between us. Are you distancing yourself from them and from it, which is totally normal and it's healthy and it's okay because you're trying to protect yourself, right? So no judgment there. Do you recoil? Do you feel stung by the fact that they are not understanding you? Did they misunderstand you? That's a big one. And oh, the recoil of being misunderstood sucks so bad because you're usually probably trying to make sure that everyone feels understood, and then they misunderstand you in that and you're just like triggered. Another one is shutting down. It's that time when you just shut down my participation in the conversation because, well, I'm not going to be understood anyway. So those are the main types of, triggers that we feel in our body. But there's another one that I want to point out is that sometimes you actually do get to meet with someone who does see you and meets you on that level, and you're like, yes, we can talk about these things, we can connect. I feel connection, I feel intimacy. Teal Swan breaks down the word intimacy into me see, to feel seen, that intimateness of connection where you feel seen. And God, do we crave it. When we go most of our lives without having that level of deep intimacy, it just feels so right when you meet someone that is able to connect on that level, that does appreciate your insight or does appreciate the deeper meaning of life, and you go off on this beautiful conversation. 3 things can come up for us though. 1, we instantly become suspicious and wary of this person. Like, do you really see me? Do you really get me? Because we're running through all the different times in the past, maybe not consciously, but subconsciously, of like, this doesn't end well, or like, I thought this person understood me and then at some point they didn't, or whatever, right? So we might become suspicious, we might distance a little bit. The second thing could be we open up and we're like, oh my God, floodgates open, like, let's talk and connect about everything. And so you open up more than you usually do, ever. And what happens? An hour later or the next day, you get that vulnerability hangover where you're like, the shame starts to creep in. You're like, oh my God, what did I say? What did they think of me when I said that? What, because you haven't had proper mirroring to be like, it's okay to be you. Your thoughts are great. So you instantly go to, I need to critique myself. I need to turn inwards, self-introspect, and I need to critique everything that could possibly have been misunderstood by them, right? We've become our own, we've internalized that outer critic, we've internalized it into ourselves to monitor ourselves and our thoughts and our words because we don't want to risk rejection. And so we turn it inwards to make sure that everything had passed that filter. But in this one case, we were vulnerable with someone else and we didn't filter what we thought. And oh my God, we go into panic, right? That's something that can happen. And we'll address that in just a minute. But the third thing that can happen is sometimes, this doesn't always sound nice, but sometimes we get jealous. Sometimes we're like, what the hell? This person has opened up and shared a deep thought, and maybe other people around heard it and they acknowledged them for it. And we're just like, why do they get the approval but I don't? Or I said something similar and no one received me then, but they heard them. Like, there's jealousy that comes up. And it's because this person is like representing that gap between like where we want what they have, which is the recognition, the validation, the connection, the intimacy, and we don't have it. And that doesn't feel good. So with all these feelings that are coming up, we can then address them. By becoming aware of our triggers, we become aware of these feelings, of the somatic sensory experience of what it feels like to be triggered by this feeling of not feeling misunderstood. And now we can address the feelings that are coming up, the jealousy, the anger, the vulnerability hangover, the shame that comes with it, the suspicion and the wariness of someone who could connect with us, because we get so used to being on guard that when someone is like, we are able to open up with them, we're like, I don't want to let the guard down because I don't want to get hurt again. Healing is a complex process, right? There's a lot of different elements to it, and it can be multifaceted. So you may be feeling all those things. Maybe you felt all those. You felt suspicious and wary. You don't want to let your guard down. You let your guard down. Then you felt vulnerable. Then you felt the shame, and then you needed to self-criticize. And then you felt the jealousy. Like, that person doesn't seem to be going through all this internal chaos that I'm going through. So what the heck? Why me? Why did I have to experience so much crap early on for being me, for just being me, and not being understood and not being seen, not being heard? Like, why me, right? We get into this space. And this is a beautiful space because, let me tell you why. Because these feelings are like that trap door on the subconscious. So we have our conscious mind, we're doing all these things like thinking, interacting with people, whatever, right? We've got the subconscious mind, which holds all the hurt that we don't want to carry around in our conscious mind on a daily basis. And what is the trap door that holds that stuff securely in the subconscious? All these triggered feelings that we don't want to feel. Those feelings, they're in there, they're in the subconscious, and they are kind of like, once we start to feel them coming up, we're like, nope, shove it back down. And that's like the trap door that keeps the lid on the subconscious so we don't deal with that deeper hurt. But if you are watching this video, we are addressing the deeper work of healing those feelings of feeling misunderstood so that we can heal it and release it and then move forward with life, feeling willing to try again, to try to articulate this rich inner landscape, to communicate with others, to find those people who will understand us. Because we need all points of view in this world. We are highly skewed in this world towards people who do not have that rich, deeper understanding and of complexity and of systems. And we see it in this very shallow arena of social media and politics. These places in our society that are very important that we need to be thinking a lot more about, right? Or our education system, or the environment, or so many things, right? We need the deep thinkers. We need those people who are introspective, who are self-reflective, who are self-aware, who are aware of bigger systems and bigger puzzles and bigger patterns at large. We need those people. Those people are feeling misunderstood and hurt and have been hurt by the people who don't understand them. And we need people to heal this and work on the skills to come out and articulate. We need their voice. We need your voice. So if we're going to address these deeper feelings, the first thing we got to do is let ourselves feel them. They are going to come up and it's going to feel very scary because we don't know how to deal with them. But really, the biggest thing that our emotions want is just to be felt, to be present with, to sit with, to let it come up and just let it take over. This is something really interesting. When you start doing emotional healing work, you can actually sit with an emotion and let the energy overtake you. It's going to feel scary at first because you've never let it do that before, but as it overtakes you, you'll start to feel it somatically in your body. You feel a tightness in your throat. You feel a pounding in your chest of panic. You feel shaky. You feel like your mind is just going buzzing, craziness with just mad, chaotic thoughts. You feel that rush of blood of anger and frustration. Let yourself feel it. The emotion wants to be expressed. Think about emotion as energy in motion. If you have been trapping this energy in motion that needs to be in motion, that needs to flow through you and out of you, if you've been trapping it in your subconscious, in your body, you are literally a container for these old energies and vibrations. They need release. They need to be seen and expressed and to be able to move through you and beyond you, out of you. You do not need to carry this around anymore. It's time to let it go. And so you've got to let yourself feel the feeling. And that's what presence means. When people talk about healing in emotional healing or spirituality, they're talking about presence, letting it be, just be like, imagine if you're sitting next to someone and letting them vent and get angry and whatever, and you're just there, you're sitting, you're holding space, you're being a great friend, you're just listening. That is what you need to do for your feeling, except your feeling cannot speak in words. It needs to be felt somatically as energy through your body. So let yourself go into the closet with a pillow and scream your lungs out. Let yourself punch that pillow. Let yourself scribble angrily F you to every single person that's pissing you off. Let your anger be expressed. If you need to grieve, let your body sob and sob and sob until you feel like there are no tears left in you. And when you do these things, when you are with yourself, after you've let the emotion out, soothe yourself. There's going to be like just like a need to like rub your arms or rock yourself, and just let your body let get out of your mind and let your body move as it needs to. Your body has such wisdom that you just need to get in touch with again. Let yourself move and soothe, and just, this is how you get back into rhythm with your body and with your emotions, in alignment with yourself. And when you do, there is a stillness that comes, a peace. This is the peace that you've been craving. This is the intimacy that you've been craving. This is the connection that you've been craving with others. But they can only meet themselves as deeply as they've met themselves. What did I say? They can only meet yourself. They can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. If they've never experienced this peace and calm, how do you think or expect them to be able to hold that space for you? Right? Only you can give you this, this true peace and calmness that comes from being with yourself completely, presently with yourself. And from there, just ask yourself what you want. What is it that you feel like doing right now? And whether that's distracting yourself with watching TV or going outside for a bike ride or just laying in the grass, looking up at the clouds, or looking, laying on the pavement, looking up at the stars, whatever it is, just let yourself do it. And that is part of healing, and letting yourself be seen and understood for maybe the first time in a long time, in a long, long time. And as you experience that, you are able to start letting go of that belief that I am not seen, I am not heard, I am not understood, because now that's not true. You have been seen and understood yourself. And God, there's so much like power and wisdom in just presence with yourself. After this time period, what I usually do is I don't want to go back to the old way of thinking. So I will go on Pinterest and find some quotes that have to do with the thing that I'm moving through and healing right now. So in this case, being misunderstood and needing just empowering messages. I need to hear different thoughts that I can think, because when I start to feel the old triggered feelings, those old thoughts are going to come up, and I want to have a different thought to be able to cling to attach to try to grasp onto and embody. And so I'll go on Pinterest, I'll find a bunch of pins, I'll make a board, I'll print these out, I'll stick them in my purse, and that way throughout the day, throughout my weeks, every time I'm starting to feel that, those feelings are coming up, okay, now I'm going to open this up. Oh, that's right. I'm believing something new now. Oh, that's really good. That's really good insight. Oh, that's different perspective. That's great. As I'm going through these Pinterest quotes. Yeah, it's just very helpful because it gives you a new train of thought to get into. You're almost kind of brainwashing yourself, but like on purpose, with empowering thoughts, things that allow you to stay aligned and empowered, and help you to not revert back to the old thoughts and old ways of thinking and believing, because that brings up the old feelings. So that's everything that is within that. There's step 1, become aware of it and become, practice the exposure, the repeated exposure. Step 1.5 is everything I just went through. Step 2 is find acceptance for yourself, find acceptance when you go out into the world. Now that you have this self-acceptance of yourself, you will act from that place. You expect from that place that I accept myself. I don't need other people to accept me. And there's a shift in energy that comes. There's a shift, a dynamic energy shift, where because when you place your attention on someone else and you're listening to them, but you want them to acknowledge you, people can feel that on a very subtle energy. Most people are not aware of it, but some people, most people are not aware of it because it's such a subtle level to perceive energy on. But we can sense it. Like humans can sense when you are listening to someone, but you want something from them. And so this shifts. And when you are totally with yourself and accepting, you can then place your attention on that person solely outwardly in that direction without needing anything. And this creates an energy shift in the dynamic that you have with people. It will help you line up with people who are more receptive to you, because maybe you start putting in boundaries and you're like, I don't want to interact so much in these places where I'm not heard and seen. I deserve to be seen and heard. So maybe I'm going to go sign up on, what's that thing? It's not GroupMe, but it's like, there's like a group finder. I did this a couple years back because I wanted to find people who were interested in things that I was interested in. Go find the people who are interested in your hobbies and your passions and all those things. And you're going to start to find that people are willing to open up and talk about these things. I think for a long time I assumed, you go to school when you're a kid and your friends are just the people who you go to school with. And then you go work a job later and you friends with these people because you work 40 hours a week with them. And you don't really realize that you don't have to be friends with the people that are in your direct vicinity. You can go find people who are actually going to get you and to understand you and see you and hear you. And that is a choice we get to make. And I don't know why it took me, 30 something years to realize that, but you kind of just get entrained in this like way of, well, I guess I'll just spend time with people who are in my immediate environment, but you don't have to do that. And when you start setting more boundaries with yourself, with your interactions with other people and say, I want to be seen, heard, and understood, I want that intimacy, that connection, then you start going, then you're like, and I can go get it for myself. I can go find the people who want to connect with me on that level. And because you've done that inner work of loving yourself and being present with yourself and accepting yourself, you're not going into those spaces being like, oh God, I hope these people accept me and see me and understand me. Because then people can sense that, right? They can sense that like you're needing something from them. And that neediness kind of pushes people away. But when you don't have that, we all have that need to be seen, accepted, and heard, right? But when you are with yourself so deeply and you've met that need, then you go out and you're not like needing it so desperately from other people. You can just show up as you, they can show up as them, and then you guys can connect. And then you get that need met even more. It's great, right? So here's the most important thing that I want you to take away from this video. You are the way you are. You can't change the way you are. You are deep and complex and beautifully insightful and introspective and can pick up subtle energy and pick up subtle patterns, and you can see the bigger picture, and you have such a rich, beautiful, unique perspective. I know you do, because if you're watching this video, if it resonated with you, that title thumbnail, this is like, I know you then. If you suffer from these feelings of feeling not seen, not heard, misunderstood, then I know it's got to be because you've got this rich inner world, that you're different from the narrative that's out in society. And my God, we need people with a different narrative than what's out in society. I don't know about you, but the external world ain't looking too good these days. And I think rather than being like everyone else out there who was just like, oh, it's so terrible, okay, and what are we going to do about it? That's, different. How are we going to be different? And we need the people who are thinking differently to get out there and voice their opinion. And I know that for myself, for my whole life, I was kind of terrified of speaking my truth and being open and honest and vulnerable about what I was thinking and feeling, because it's not normal and it's cringe, as the kids say. But fuck it. We need healing in this society. So who cares what anyone thinks? This is my truth and this is what I have to share. And I'm going to share it. And whatever it is that you have to share, we need that too. And we need to shift the narrative. We need to shift the way that we think through problems, the way that we problem solve. We need people who think about things very differently. And your voice is needed and it's heard. And so it is my hope that with this video, can show you how you can move through that process to heal some of that hurt. Because it's not fair. It is not fair that you have to, 1, you had to deal with the hurt. You had to deal with 2, you had to deal with your whole life of feeling that hurt. 3, now you have to take the responsibility of healing that hurt when it wasn't your fault to begin with. And then 4, learn the skills of articulating your truth. How rude, like literally on top of all that. And then 5, put yourself out there so that people can hear your truth and hear your ideas and be shifted and changed by them. It doesn't have to be on a large scale. It can be on an individual level, but we need your voice. We need that voice that's different and that feels empowered, because when you speak with that, even the people who are like, I don't want to listen to the deep stuff. I don't want to go deep. I don't want to go complex. When you speak from a place of power and from your heart, people will listen. I promise. So I'm going to wrap up that video there. I think I probably got it under 40 minutes, so I'm pretty happy with that. Also, I filmed this entire video about 3 hours ago just to realize my mic didn't pick up any of it. So I had to re-record this whole thing. It was lovely. But no, I think I got it a little more succinct, a little more concise this time, which is great. You know, just consider that first time a practice run. It's all part of the skill and learning process, you know? So anyways, if you like this kind of content, I have another series called The Diary of an Alchemist, in which I am detailing the last 6 years of my spiritual healing, emotional healing, inner child work journey. And I wrote journals through all of this. So I'm working my way through those journals. And actually the one that I just filmed prior to this was about January 26th of 2019, where I dealt with interacting with people who were very close to me for most of my life, and I felt like I was growing apart from them. And so I address this feeling of when you feel like you're growing apart from people and kind of the icky feelings that come along with that, the not so great ones, and including I did not look so great in that because I was quite judgmental, but you know what? They're real feelings. They happen. We all have them. So if you're interested in that, I addressed how I felt back then. I have insight and perspective 6 years later down the line of like realizing people are just on their different paths, you know, and it's okay to just let it be what it was. But yeah, by we I mean me, go into the depths of that day. And yeah, I'm just getting tired because this is about 4 hours of filming today. I'm just happy with myself that I'm staying consistent in posting videos and stuff. So thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed it, make sure you liked and subscribed and ring that bell for notifications because I am trying to be more consistent, but it will let you know when I do post. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.